Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
No, okay, cool. Hi, Kaylee. I'm eating blueberry cheesecake ice cream. Is so good. I love you. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain this in the best way I think I can. Okay, so no more relics right now. I don't know if that's just for the alpha or that's forever. But you basically get one ward and you get beads permanently. Excuse me. There's button mapping now, so you can choose what does what. But they also have classic Savage and Berserker or Savage and Challenger stuff. I don't know if you used any of those button layouts, but that's it, and then you can just customize the buttons now. I am having trouble getting it to save the controls all the time, but I don't really know how to fix that. Um, there you go. And those are all the settings we have for right now. And I'm in basically the practice area that they have for this one. Alright. Um, okay. Most of the characters do the same stuff, but they've had abilities slightly changed or had stuff added to them. I'm still not sure how to look at my character's abilities and what they do, but I'll figure that out some other time. But like you can see, Chalk's kind of the same. He has all this stuff, so pretty much all the same biz. Okay, and that's because the biggest change is the entirety of how items work and the items um, changed and new items and blah blah blah. And of course, I assume this is not all the items in the game. Now, this is you can change the way the item store looks, and I have it like this because it was the most familiar to me. It made it easier to read. But ignore the right side for now. Just look at the left side. New minimal corny layout, right? Um, it works kind of like when you're shopping for clothes and you're using the filter list and you click two or three different filters and then it filters the items based on all three of those. So if you see it, I press triangle, and don't worry about strength and intelligence, I'll go over that in a second. But if I click strength, it'll show me all the strength items, and then if I click crit chance, it'll show me all the strength and crit chance items. And then if I press R3, it'll clear and go back. I think this is a little stupid because you have to press triangle to open this list, and then you press X to select your lists. But then I can't just go over and start buying items. I have to press circle. Oops. Yep, and then it'll let me buy items. And then if I want to go back to the list, I have to press triangle again and then do the rest. I just think it's annoying that I have to press circle and press triangle to keep going back over and over again. But nonetheless, this is like a filter system. And then at the very top, you can change this with R1 and L1. And these are basically items based on class. So, um, this is ADC items, so like hunters, magical hunters, and stuff. This is jungle items. This is mage or mid items. This is solo items, tanky, bruiser type items for like warriors, some guardians, blah blah blah, and then support items. And then I think you can also like go to one of these like mage items and then also do the filters, and then it'll work with that as well. And then of course search. that we'll probably not use because we're on console, but it at least works faster than it did in Old Smite. Okay, now to get to the items and how much I hate it. So, the biggest thing in this game is that there's no longer lots of differences between magical and physical specific items. Any character can build any items, some just work better for others. So, for example, there's no magical lifesteal and physical lifesteal anymore, there's just lifesteal. And they've done that by having two main categories of items, which are now strength and intelligence. Generally speaking, strength is physical stuff, and generally speaking, intelligence is magical stuff. And this is just as far as I'm aware and what I've been able to figure out by watching and reading and stuff. However, okay, so yeah, strength is more physical, intelligence is generally more magical. And some characters are pretty much gonna be mostly strength, and some characters pretty much are gonna be mostly intelligence. So, for example, Loki, excuse me, Jesus Christ, Loki is pretty much gonna have strength stuff only. Because he scales up with strength. He just happens to be that kind of physical character. Intelligence. Zeus, for the most part, isn't going to gain benefit from having strength items because he's pretty much a magical mage guy. So he's pretty much going to mostly have intelligence items. However, both of them can build the same lifesteal items. Because lifesteal, like I said, has no difference between magical and physical. Then you look at items like, characters like Chalk, who I picked for this example, or Cernunnos, where these are characters that can hybrid off of both of them. So if you built strength items on Chalk, it would make his physical attacks do more damage. But if you went the intelligence route with Chalk, you could affect things like his healing. You can make him heal himself more. You can make his rain attack do more damage hypothetically, because he has both kind of those magical abilities and then his physical attacks. So think of intelligence in a silly way, like literally the magic some characters have. So another hybrid example for Cernunnos would be if you built strength items on Cernunnos. Obviously his physical ranged autos would do some more damage. But if you built a little bit of intelligence on Cernunnos, his ultimate that turns people into animals might do a little more damage. Or the passives on his autos might do a little bit more damage. So those things are character specific. Now, there's no longer how do I explain this? There's no longer you buy one tier 1 item, go into one tier 2 item, and then you can pick from the tier 3 items. If you look here, this store is divided, and this might not be all the items, is divided into tier 1, which there are the least of, tier 2, and then tier 3, which there are the most of. And you'll see some items have made comebacks, like Shoguns, but most of them have slightly different names for whatever reasons, and then pretty much all of them are different in some way. But yes, so you'll see this one. This used to be Bobble, which gave you that 60% cooldown, but they just kept the picture and completely changed what it does. Now, if you look on the right side, which we'll get into, the tree is completely flipped upside down. You'll see there's multiple tier 1s, and then less tier 2s, and then one tier 3. Basically, the whole idea is to make in their eyes at least, building easier because most of these tier 1 items can build into any of the future items you want. Um, Basically allowing you to be like, well, if I'm starting the game, let's say this item I'm on right now, I want to start this game with this little bit of health, but so I'm going to get this. But then later on, um, I can choose, I'm on the right side at the top, by the way. I can choose if I want that health to turn into even more health with this Olmec Blue item, or I can choose to turn it into some strength and health with this Battle Axe, or I can choose to go the route of a little bit more health, some intelligence, and some mana. Or you can, of course, do it based off the passive, like I want to build into this emblem item because I want that passive. And things of that nature. And so I'm going to sell this. Eventually, to build up to a tier 3, you basically will have to buy all these items. And so, like, for example, let's say I want to build up to this tier 2 adamantine sickle. In my inventory, I would buy this thing, and then this thing, and then those would level up to this thing. So I don't know if you saw, but in the item list on the bottom left, which are the items I already have, you would have seen that I had 2 of those tier 1s, and then they combined into the tier 2. So I'll do it again just to see. So I buy the axe, see that it's down there. I buy the scythe, see that it's down there. And then when I buy the tier 2, they combine into that tier 2. And then you'll see on the right, it says I own all of them, but they have turned into that tier 2. And then the same thing kind of counts for the tier 3, where then I'll buy this, and you'll see I have those 2 items, and then I'll buy this, and they'll mix together. So this is basically like, I don't really understand their thought process for the most part. I just kind of understand that it allows you to pick a simple item that will benefit you in the early game, but then be able to turn that into a wide array of tier 3s late game, as opposed to in Smite 1, where you kind of pigeonholed yourself to the type of item that you're going to get from the time you buy it. Like in Smite 1, when you buy an item, you know like what kind of tree you're building into and what item you're getting. But in this, because the tier 1 is so basic, you can stretch whatever tier 1 into whatever build you still want to go as you level up. The thing I don't really understand is why split it up like into this thing where you need 2 items to build 1 item and then 3 items to build 1 item. I still don't really get that much. With that said though, you don't have to like individually buy each one to build something. It's like the same as Smite 1, where let's say I have enough money and I just want to straight up buy this blood forged blade. You can just buy it and it'll just give you that one. The building up to a higher tier item is only really going to matter like throughout a game, you know, not in practice, or not if you have like saved a lot of money. It's really like, you know, let's say you're playing an arena and you go back to base and you just have enough money to buy a tier 2 item, then like that's when that happens. But for the most part, like let's say you know the build you're trying to go. If I go and I want hydras, I'll buy hydras, and if I don't have enough money, it will like just buy the necessary components you have the money for at the time. And then if you want to finish your hydras, you can just come back and keep clicking that hydras, and it'll eventually fill it out for you. I just sold all of them. Okay, now next, because there's only beads, There are no other relics, but they've replaced that with that thing I was talking to you about called actives. So basically, and this is, as far as I'm aware, mostly for tier 3 items. Yeah. Yeah, for tier 3 items. Some of their passives. Okay, so here. You can see it on the right side, but when I hover over an item, there's, the passive. It says passive, but some items, like this one, will say active, which is basically means it's something that you can activate, versus an item having a passive, which is something that happens on its own. Excuse me, when something else, some other rules are met, or they just give you a passive. But actives are something you can activate with the press of a button. And that means every single item in your item tree can be an active. And that's part of the reason why they put button mapping, is because you're going to need an extra 4 buttons um, to pop your actives if you have a lot. And then, of course, you don't need a lot of actives. That's just going to depend on what items are good in this game and what items are meta. But theoretically speaking, if you have multiple actives, including potions, because that's included in your active tree, um, you'll need a couple buttons to hit. So I'm going to do a bunch for example, just for example. So you'll see this is an active. This is an active. I'm just going to go through and pick a bunch of them. Okay, and then for the last 2, I'll get potions.
Ah, how wonderful.
There you go. And so if you look at on the bottom left, which is my item inventory, those are the items I have, you'll see that I have a button mapped for every single one of them. And that's because when you press the button, it'll do whatever that passive effect is. So for example, Amita's Charm. The active is it creates a mushroom that heals allied gods within blah 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 for 5% HP every 1 second. And it has a 60-second cooldown. So you'll see when I press that button, it uses the item passive. Ignore that pyramid. I just put that down on accident. But you saw that it was healing us a little bit. And then it goes on a 60-second cooldown, and then you can use it again. And that's on top of the stats it also gives you. So this item gives me 40 physical prots, 300 health, and then it has the active I can use. For example, this one just gives you a 20% strength buff for 10 seconds. So you'll see when I press that, it made me bigger, and I got my strength buff. And you'll see, and you can see down there, it has something for all of that, and then it includes potions. So I just did a mana potion, just did a health potion. And just in case you want certain items in certain slots, if you press what is it, L3. So okay, to mess with the items you have already equipped, you open the shop, press L3, and you can look at what they do or whatever, or click them, and then I'll bring them up on the right side, do whatever you need to do. But if you want certain items mapped to certain buttons, you can hold square and basically move them around however you want, and then you'll see they'll be mapped to the specific buttons. Scoreboard's ugly. I hate how big it is. I like that it's clear, but I hate how big it is. And then you can't tell by the map, but I feel like the conquest map in this game is much, 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 much smaller. Okay, what else? Okay, so buffs. Buffs are, some of them give you the same things, but they're completely different. You'll see it's Primal, Blight, Inspiration, and Pathfinder. And then there are tiered ones, so level 1, level 2, and level 3. I don't know how that works right now. I haven't figured out how that, or really looked it up, because I've been so confused by the items. And I know I'm sounding like I know how the items work, and I generally speaking know, but I don't know the routing of buying them in game. Like, for example, like, let's say, let me sell some stuff. Oh, I have to be in the fountain, sorry. Okay, so let's say it's early game, right? So for example, if I'm in solo lane, I'm gonna start with some potions, just because that's normal.
How wonderful.
And I'm gonna start with an axe, because that builds into a lot of damage items, and it's strength, right? And so let's say, for chalk, I want to build into Hydra, or Serpent Spear, right? Okay, so no matter what, I'm going to have to get another axe. So let's say I return back to base, I only have 500 coins. I'm going to get another axe, right? And then from here, let's say I go back to base and I have another 500. The thing I'm struggling with is there any real, like, I guess it just depends on what you want to build, but there's so many questions for me, and I'm not the best at item building, and I get stressed out. Is like, do I just go for this and this with my 500 gold, and then just grab this at the end? Like, there's just so many questions like that to go through, in my opinion. But I kind of got the understanding of what they want you to do. And then I also don't exactly know, for like characters that can build both strength and intelligence, what affects what for everybody. I haven't really looked that up yet. And then, like I said, I I don't know how to pull up like the info for my abilities, so I can't even read that because I don't know what it would be in this controls. Um, yeah, I don't know what it would be in the controls. I have the level up, all the activates, blah blah blah, item shop, scoreboard, HUD navigation. Um, the only thing that I could think would be the tooltip reminder, but like it says that, but then it just says sample text, um, and I don't know what that means. And then it just makes my character auto a bunch. Like, I'm not even holding anything right now. It like sets like my auto attack on, I guess, pretty much. So yeah, I don't like, it just says sample text hold over your abilities for whatever, and I don't really know what it does. Hold sample text over your abilities to see what they do. Like, that doesn't really make sense for me. But yeah, whatever. I'll figure that out eventually. The buffs are different. There are different levels. I don't really know how to access the different levels, or if it's just as a game goes on. But they all do different things, and it'll be like in a camp, and then you kill them for the buff like normal. You'll see Pathfinder. It gives movement speed, just like the yellow speed buff. But you can stack it and get more movement speed pretty much. Inspiration gives a buff to your nearby allies for strength and intelligence. Light is like a poison, does dot damage. So all of your attacks and abilities do dot damage to their max health. And then primal is protections. So yeah, protection. Well, protections from hitting enemies. So they all do slightly different stuff. Is there anything else I can think of? Well, if you see this and can think about how I can see what my abilities do in game, that'd be helpful. What's my thingy? Did I toggle HUD? Oh, nice. Oh, never mind. Why is it backwards? What the? Oh, cool. I figured it out. So does it say what is intelligence and what isn't? Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess in abilities, it'll tell you what is based on strength and what isn't. So I guess you can see um, his Thunder Strike scales mostly with strength, but also with intelligence um, for the damage of it, of course, because it's a damaging attack. His Torrent is a damaging attack, but when you hit enemies, you get prots. So you'll see the protection from this item scales with intelligence, but the damage from the normal attack and the teleport version scale with strength. The healing scales with intelligence, and then his ult scales with both. So those are like what the hybrid characters will look like. I need a better button mixture to be able to do this thing. I'm trying to get to the right side. Okay, and you'll see the stats there. They've got rid of, like, I don't know if you knew what the other ones in Smite 1 were for, but there was like a basic attack and an ability attack one, but they've been replaced with strength and intelligence, attack speed, prots, and movement speed. But yeah, that's all I can think of. I love you, bye!